Hey, welcome to our modeling this morning. We are going to make this, which is a stand, a sign for each of the computers. I need 32 of these, so thank you for helping me out. This is made with 5 pieces, so it's got 2 identical side pieces. It's got a back brace here, and then there's 2 layers to the front face with tabs kind of set 1 layer back in there. So that's what we're making. Let's get to it. It should be a quick build. So I'm going to start by making the side piece here, and it's a very specific shape, so make sure you're following along and getting all the correct measurements in. All right, so to do this, I'm going to choose the side face to create a sketch on. So I just did a create sketch tool, and I'm going to start in this back corner and work my way up, back, around, and then I'm going to come back up on this side. All right, let's do it. Let's make it. So I'm going to grab the line tool, and I'm going to start here in the corner, and I'm going to go straight left 2 centimeters. And then I'm going to click. If I push enter right now, let me show you what it does actually. If I press enter right now, it actually takes me out of the line tool, which isn't a problem. I can just go grab the line tool again, start off where I left off, and then come up. And I want to come up this time 3.8 centimeters. Now, if I push enter, it's going to do that again. I'm going to grab the tool again. The other way of doing it is just to click with your mouse. Once you type in the 3.8 in, just click with your mouse, and it then starts you off with another line tool at the end of your last line tool. So when you're making several lines in a row, this is a much better way of doing it. This next one should be 2.34 centimeters. Click. And then the next one is 1.9. Click. The next one is 2. Click. And the next one is 8 centimeters, but this one's at a bit of an angle backwards. So I'm going to go 8 centimeters, and I want it to be at 75 degrees from the horizontal. This inside angle to be 75 degrees. So I'm going to hit tab over there and do 75 degrees. And I'm going to hit enter this time because that's the last line I want to draw on this side. Now, right now, this is super confusing because of all of these measurement lines. So let me drag some of these out. I'm drag the angle down here like this. I'm going to drag these distances to really close to their actual lines. And we can kind of see what shape we have so far by getting these out of the way. Sometimes these measurements lines end up looking like actual lines in our drawing when they're not. So that's that first part. We need to go up to here and then over to there. So to do that next part, I'm going to grab a line tool, start back at the origin. I'm going to go up 6.3 centimeters. And I'm going to click, and then I'm going to just end right at the top there. And once I do that, it'll turn kind of a beigey orange color. And that just tells you that you have a fully contained shape. There's no breaks in it anywhere, so this is something you can extrude. All right, so before we extrude, we're going to actually add the fillets. Normally, I would wait to add fillets to the very last second, but the fillets are going to tell me how big to make the front, because I don't want the front piece to be like inside that curve and poking out weirdly. So I need to fillet now. Okay. And the reason I like to fillet early on is because once you fillet something, you lose that corner. So you can't like line things up on the corner of things. You just have a rounded over edge. It gets a little harder to work with. But this time, I think it's going to be the best way to do it. So I want the fillet here to be a 0.6 on this edge and on this front edge. I want these two to match each other. That'll make it look nice from the front. It's the same curve on both sides. So I clicked on the top one, typed in 0.6, clicked on the bottom one, and then now I'm going to push enter. That just filled in both of those. Now, this one, and this back one, I want them all to have just a tiny bit of round over to them. This is where the monitor is going to slide into. So it's nice to be able to have a round over where it slides in. That way it won't like clip and get caught every time you put it on. So I'm going to grab the fillet tool again. I'm going to click on the first corner. I'm going to call that 0.15. And then I'm going to click on the second, and nope. And I missed that third corner, which is just fine. I got those 2 rounded over. You can see the 2 round overs there. And I'm just going to grab the fillet tool again and get the third one. I clicked on the wrong thing that time. And I'm going to do 0.15. enter, and then I've got one more corner to fillet, and this is this one, and this is just for appearances, but I'm going to fillet this one with a large fillet. So I'm going to say, hey, I want this to be 8.5 centimeters because I want this curve to be a nice curve that goes pretty much the entire length of the back. And that does it right there. Enter. So at this point, we're ready to extrude. But before we can extrude, we do need to set up the thickness of the material we're extruding. So I'm going to say modify, change parameters. I'm going to add a thickness parameter. And then I'm going to take, you take 5 or 6 pieces, maybe 8 pieces of plywood, clamp them together right next to the clamp, measure the thickness of all those pieces, type that number in here. So mine was 2.065, and I had 8 pieces, so divided by 8. And so instead of doing the math on a calculator and typing in 0.258, I like to type in the entire number I get from my calipers, and then divided by the number of sheets. It gives you a more precise number in Fusion. I always recommend doing that instead of doing the math on your own. And it also helps you avoid making a mistake when you type them in the calculator. Okay, click OK. And now that's my value for my thickness. Click OK here. And then just extrude this shape out. I'm going to extrude it out 1 thickness. I don't really care which direction it goes. Okay, so that's my first piece done, and done. Now we need to make the piece, the face that goes across the front. And to do that, we're going to start on the inside edge. So I'm going to call this body the left L side for left side. So I'm going to create the face. That's the left side. When I'm looking at it, the right side is going to be this way. I'm going to create an 8 centimeter face across that gap. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to create a sketch. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to grab a rectangle tool. Now my normal rectangle tool will only draw a rectangle vertically or horizontally. So I don't want that though. I really want a rectangle that follows that edge. Now there is a way to get it to make the rectangle vertical and then just do some constraint tools to get it onto this face. But even easier, there's a third rectangle tool. So there's this one that we normally use. There's a center point, which means it starts the center. Again, though, it still makes it vertically or horizontally. Then there's a 3-point rectangle tool, and that's really what this one's for. So I'm going to click 3 points for this. So there's my first point. On the line down here somewhere is my second point. I don't care how long I make it right now. And then my thickness is my third point. So my thickness is going to be thickness. Enter. Now notice these 2 top lines are blue. That means that they're not fully constrained. They're not fully located yet. If you grab one of them, you can still move it around. So what we want to do is we want this point, this corner right here, to exactly line up with where this curve starts right there. See how that's where the curve starts? We don't want it to be, let me show you what I'm trying to avoid. So if I take this and I just drag it up, I don't want my face to be out here and this weird pokey out edge to it. So I really want to constrain this. So I'm going to use my coincidence tool. I'm going to say I want this corner right there to line up with that corner right there. They are what's called coincidence, which means they're hitting each other. Okay? And now I want to come down here and do the same thing. I want to say I want this corner to be coincident with where that curve starts. Now that's the biggest face I can get without having any overhang at all. And now I'm ready to extrude. Well, actually, let me do the other one as well. Do I want to do the other one? No, I think I'll wait. Yeah, I want to do them as 2 separate pieces. Normally what I would do is I would do a double thick piece of plywood like this. I would do it as a one object that's double thick. But I think in this case, I'm going to keep the 2 layers separate. It's going to make breaking them apart a little easier later. And I'll show you what I mean by that later. So I'm going to extrude this. And I'm going to make sure I'm extruding it to the inside, just like that. And I'm going to say this needs to be 8 centimeters. And I'm going to click enter. Uh-oh, except I merged them when I didn't want to. I joined them, I didn't want to. I wanted a new body there. So that's okay though. I can just come down here to my timeline, right click on my extrusion, click on edit feature, come back down here and fix this. I don't want to join it, I want a new body. and then click OK. And that just fixed it. So now I have body 2, and I'm going to call this F face for front face. There'll be a front face and a back of the face. All right. So now that's been made. So let's just go ahead and cut the hole for this one. So I'm going to create a sketch on the face, the front face, and I'm going to use the offset tool. I'm going to click on the outside edge, and I'm going to drag it in 0.6 centimeters. For me, it needs to be negative 0.6 because that's on the inside. Excuse me. And that's what I want. I'm going to click OK, and now I'm just going to cut this hole out. So I'm going to do extrude. I'm going to extrude this hole. I'm going to do a negative thickness. That is not right. Negative thickness, and enter. And now I've got this opening right in here for the label. Now what I need to do is I need to create the back of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create, right now this face is on the inside of the 2 legs. It doesn't go overlap with them. But the back side, I need to cut some joints in it. So I'm going to create a sketch on the back of the front face. I'm going to add tabs to the outside where I want them to go through the plywood, and then extrude that shape. Let me show you real quick. So I'm going to do a create sketch. Right now I'm on the back of the front face. I'm going to click there. Now I'm going to hide the left side and the front face. This is this beige thing, as you can see, the front face is there. So I actually want to add some. I'm going to come here to the edge, and I'm going to add in a box. I'm going to have 1 thickness wide, and I'm going to do it at, let's do 0.75 centimeters. Enter. And there's the other side. And then I'm going to take my midpoint tool. I'm going to click here, and I'm going to click on this one, and that's going to center that tab right there. So it comes right out of the center. I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. I'm going to go with thickness there and 0.75. Enter. Midpoint tool there and there. Escape out of the midpoint tool. I'm going to pull these measurements out of the way because they always get in the way when I'm trying to see what's going on. And now I'm going to create a rectangular pattern tool and just take this and pattern it up. Rectangular pattern, and I want to select this one, that one. And I'm not selecting this inside one because I'm hoping that it will allow me to do something interesting in a second. I'm going to do 3 of them up. Notice that for me, that was the bottom 3. I need to make the one direction into symmetric. And I'm just going to do it. Yeah, I'm digging that. So 0.75 for the width of the tab. 3 of them symmetric at a distance of 2.3 with the extent set. And then I'm just going to click OK. Awesome. Now I just need to extrude this. So I'm going to hit E for extrude. And I'm going to select everything that I want to extrude, which is everything. Yes, 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 and yes. And I'm going to click this. And I'm going to turn the front face on, so I want to know which way to go. And yep, so I'm on the back here. I want to go in this direction. Except I don't want a join command. I want a new body command. And I want to go a distance of thickness. And I think that's good. I'm going to hit enter. Go back to here. And yeah, so I've got my 3 tabs there. I've got my front face, my back face. Everything looks great. Turn my left side on. Now I just need to copy, make one of these, and send it over to the other side. So to do that, I'm going to use the move tool. I'm going to click on the left side. And I'm going to say, create a copy. And I'm going to drag it over this way. Yeah, about like that. Okay. And now I'm going to do an align tool to get it just in the right place. So I'm going to click the align tool up here in the modify menu. I'm going to say from is the thing that's moving, to is the thing it's moving to. So one thing's going to move, the other thing's going to stay stationary. The first one you click on is going to be moved. So I want this outside face to be lined up with this outside face. Boom, and it is now. And I'm just going to click OK. Awesome. So there it is. That's that one. We have one more thing to do. We need to create this cross back brace. So let me show you where to do it. This time we're going to do it a little differently. So instead of drawing it to size and creating tabs on the outside, we're going to extrude it extra long to the outside of both sides and then cut tabs in it afterwards. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So to do this, I want to have a brace that goes from one outside to the other outside leg. So I'm going to create a sketch on an outside leg real quick. And then I'm going to draw a rectangle. And my rectangle needs to be a thickness of 1 thickness. Enter. And I should have actually made the other side. That's okay. I'm going to dimension this side. It needs to be 2.5 centimeters. I could have done that before I pushed enter, been more convenient. Now notice how all sides are blue because this thing can still escape out of that. This can be moved wherever right now. I haven't positioned where it's going to be, told Fusion where to put it yet. So let's do that work real quick. So we're going to use the D for dimensioning tool. We're going to say from this line to this bottom line, that should be a distance of 1.25 centimeters. Enter. Now the two sides are still blue because now I can still, if I hit escape, I can still move it left and right. So I need to figure out left and right how far to make it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up this front edge line with this front edge right here, or this edge on this one. To do that, I'm going to use what's called the Collinear Tool. The Collinear Tool says take two lines that aren't in line with each other and line them up. It doesn't overlap them. It just pulls them sideways until they're lined up. So watch this. So I'm going to take this line. I'm going to say I want this line. I don't know why it's not selecting it. Let me try that again. There it is. I want this blue line to be lined up with this one. And now these two are lined up perfectly above each other. And these are all black now because they're fully constrained. It means they know exactly where they're supposed to be. Okay, so now what you do is extrude this. This is the piece that extrudes out. And I'm going to extrude this one. Not a certain distance, but I'm going to extrude it to be to the other side. So here on distance, I'm going to choose to object, and then I'm going to choose to right there. Fusion assumes I want to cut, but I don't. I want a new body. And I'm going to click OK. And now I'm going to clean some of this up. So this was left side, front face, body. That's the back face, so B face. This is left side 1. This is actually the right side, so R side. And then this is the brace. Awesome. So I actually want to do the brace real quick. I need to cut some tabs into these outside pieces. And so I'm going to turn off everything but the brace and create a quick sketch right on the surface of the brace. That's going to allow me to draw and then extrude. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say, I'm going to do it quick. I'm going to say this is going to be 0.25 and this is thickness. Enter. I'm going to do another one of those here. This is 0.25 and this is thickness. And then I'm going to do one more right in the middle, but I'm going to keep it off the middle for now. I'm going to push it to the middle in just a second. So thickness, and then 0.75. Well, let's say 0.5. No, let's say let's say 0.5. That sounds good. And then we're going to do a midpoint tool, and we're going to click here and here. And then, so we're going to cut these three things out, and we're going to leave these two are going to be our tabs to stick through. I think all of that looks good. And then let's do a mirror tool. So I could just create those three rectangles again. It wouldn't take but a second. Way over here on the side, Actually, let me pull this measurement down so we can see. There we go. Now you can see there's 3 places we can grab onto. But what I can also do is what's called a mirror tool. So what I want to do is set up a line that's halfway between where I'm going to mirror. So halfway between this side, and that's super easy. I'm going to turn on a construction line. I'm going to find the midpoint, which is that little triangle one right there. Click, drag straight down, and let go. Doesn't matter how far down I go, as long as there is a line in the middle, I'm all good. That's going to be the line that I'm going to mirror around. So I'm going to use here what's called a mirror tool. And I'm just going to tell Fusion what things I want to mirror. And it's just these sides. I don't need these back sides because there's already lines for those over there. And then I'm going to tell it what the mirror line is. I'm going to say, okay, mirror it around that. And it just draws them right across there in the mirror. If instead I said, hey, mirror around this line, it would have drawn them up here as if this is the mirror. Okay, but I want this to be the mirror. And I'm just going to click OK. And now I'm going to extrude, and I'm going to take away all 3 of these and all 3 of these. And I'm going to do a negative thickness. Awesome. That looks great. So what is next is I need to turn everything belts back on. And I think that's all 5 of our pieces fully cut and ready to rock and roll. Yeah, perfect. Uh-oh. Oh, there's the brace. I turned it off. There it is. So one thing that we haven't done is cut all the holes in the sides. So if I do a move command real quick, and I look at this side piece, there's no place for all these tabs to go into. We don't want to make that mistake. So let's go ahead and cut some of these things. To do that, we're going to use the combine tool. We're going to change it from join to cut. And the target body is the thing that we want to cut. We want to cut the outside piece. And then the tool bodies is what we're cutting with. So we want to cut with the back face. Now you can see the holes that just got cut. We want to cut with this one. And I think that's it. Last thing I want to do is I want to check keep tools. If I don't click keep tools, the 2 red ones will disappear after I'm done. But I want them to stay, so I'm going to say keep tools and click OK. Now if I do a quick move command, I can move the side out of the way. And I can see now that I have the holes I need for the tabs there. And then so the other side, I am going to do the same thing. Combine tool, I'm going to click on the outside as my target. My tools are going to be these 2 pieces. And I'm going to say keep tools cut. Okay. And now I'm ready to flatten. Actually, before I flatten, let's add some appearances to it. So I want to make this look a little bit more like wood. So I'm going to push A key for appearance. That's going to bring up the appearance window. And then I'm going to come down here to wood. I'm just going to grab a quick wood. I don't know, let's put some pine on it. Let's say it's going to be pine. And then I'm just going to throw it up here under bodies. So you can actually put it in different things. So you're like, hey, I thought this is going to be a piece of metal. You could find some metal looking stuff, put it here. Different colors of paint on every different body. That's possible as well. I dropped the pine icon up here on the bodies tab. If I were to say, hey, my front face, I'm going to make it out of mahogany, I could do that and just make one piece different than the others. But I'm going to go ahead and drop that on there. Remove. Perfect. Awesome. So that is the stand. Now we need to break it apart and flatten it out, and then create what's called the DXF file, and then we'll send it on over to Inkscape, where we'll do the last bit of work to it. All right, great job so far.